Hi, and welcome to episode 149 of the Heartland Knits podcast. My name is Vicki, but you can find me as Heartland Knits on Ravelry and Instagram. And today is Sunday, July 31st, 2016. It's been a little while. Actually, there was a podcast that I recorded kind of July 4th weekend that kind of never got uploaded. So I'm uploading that one and I will do this one kind of at the same time. After that, there will be a little bit of a change, but I will kind of hold off talking about it till the end of the podcast because I have a lot of stuff to get through. It's been sort of a busy month and I have new projects on the needles. So I will start out with a new shawl that I cast on this week. And it is one that you might have seen me knit before. It is kind of my everyday shawl that I wear sort of all the time, especially during the winter, but I actually have it around all summer too because I get cold. The one that I'm currently using, I refer to it as my ragamuffin shawl because there are big gaping holes actually in the knitted fabric. I have worn, I think, 4 or 5 of them completely out. So that I could not wear that outside of the house because I wear it all the time. And I'm doing the same pattern again. I am looking for the picture of it. It is a Faroese style shawl by Marilyn Van Keppel. And this is a picture of what it looks like from the front. But it's mostly garter, and then it has this band at the bottom of lace. And, there's the sort of characteristic Faroese shaping. And this is coming from, I'm using this book, which is the XRX compilation of lace shawls from like older knitters magazines, and it's called Shawls and Scarves. The pattern originally was in an old knitters magazine. I think that's the first time I knit it, and then I got this book that it was in. And I am using a yarn that I bought last weekend. I was at Meg Swanson's knitting camp, and I kind of bought yarn to replace it. I've been sort of waiting to buy yarn. I wanted this color, but I wasn't exactly sure. There were 2 blues, and I wasn't sure which one they called it. But it's this yarn. It's Einbond. It's like a spun single of but lace weight Icelandic. When you're knitting with it, it feels a little bit stiff, but once it's blocked and once you've worn it a while, it gets like nice and soft. It's never going to be like merino kind of a soft, but I really like it. For as much as I wear that shawl, like I've worn the Icelandic out, a softer yarn wouldn't hold up at all. And I think this shawl I've been wearing for a couple of years now. So, but I cast on for this. And so you start at the bottom with a zillion stitches. I think you start out with over 400 that you cast on. And this is just this little garter bit kind of at the bottom before the lace starts. And you start sort of shaping the gusset. Where am I? I have just little kind of ring markers for that. So that is a project that I was, I started this week. It was really nice to see. I love this pretty blue yarn. Everything kind of in my life this summer is blue. Last year it was all green. This year it's all blue. And I also started another project at the beginning of the week. And that is, I started a new boho sweater. I always have one of these on the go. And this is actually the last kit that I have back several years ago, I bought a bunch of kits. I kind of bought them in groups. I think the first time I got 2, and then I got 4 or 6, and then I got a few more. You're sending away for yarn from Sweden, you might as well get a couple of them, right? So, and I kind of did the biggest shipment in the year when the exchange rate was really, favorable. So of all the kits that I have, this is the last one that I had left, and it was in the batch of the first 2, and it is Blue Shimmer. It is a designed by Annalisa Mannheimer-Lund, and it was first designed in 1947. And I will just kind of hold up. Hopefully all these colors will show up. So these are all the colors in the collar, and then this is the color of the body. It's looking more gray than it looks in person. In person, it's just a very, very pale blue shimmer, and so most of the colors are in the blues, and then there's a few sort of kind of like taupey sort of colors. This was my what I used for my provisional cast on. And so will be doing a cardigan, and this is as much as I have cast on. This green at the top is my provisional cast on, and then just this is the start of my color work. So it's just a little baby start of it. I didn't know if I wanted. I've been kind of holding off on doing Blue Shimmer because it is sort of the iconic design of the Bohus sweaters, at least one of them that I think of. Just lately, they have come out with a couple of new designs that I just love. One of them is called Pale Shimmer, which was a later sort of look back at Blue Shimmer. Blue Shimmer was, I think, probably one of the most popular designs, and so they kind of wanted to recreate that and did another one. And the coloring is close to this. It's just a little bit different. I think I might actually like it more, and so I was thinking, well, should I order, Pale Shimmer? And then there's another design called the Spring, which I think is really, really pretty. And so I was thinking about, should I get those 2, and then I could sell the Blue Shimmer kit? But this one was here, and I've been waiting to knit it, and so I thought I will just knit what I have, and then, we'll see another time if I want to order like one of the other new ones. There will undoubtedly be many more things cast on throughout this month. Those were just what I cast on since returning back from knitting camp. I was at knitting camp last weekend, so I cast those 2 things on. But I have a whole list of things that I want to knit, things that I've been sort of thinking about knitting for a while and want to cast on. But I have a couple things off the needles that I wanted to show you. And the first is something left over from last year. It is the one and only pair that you're going to see this year, and that is my Lollipop Yarn Autumn Amore socks. I finished these up last weekend, and when I started the year and I said I am not knitting socks this year because I have too many to fit in my sock drawer, I had, I think I was partway down the foot of the second sock, and so that's all I had left to finish up. I did a little bit of it on it at ZK, and then I finished it up last weekend. So my one and only pair of socks for this year, and this was Lollipop Yarn in the Autumn Amore. I don't even know where my sock blockers are, so you get them just like this. This is just how they were finished. And the big drum roll is that I finished the black bohos. This is what consumed me from the beginning of June. I think I picked this back up when I went to ZK, and that started on June 1st. And I knit this. I finished it before camp, but this is the only thing that I knit for all the month of June and until the, what was it, the 18th? But it was the only thing I knit for those 6 weeks. And it was black, and it sort of sucked my soul out, and it was really kind of like one of the hardest things I've ever like just pushed through and knit on, because it was dark and I couldn't see it, but all the way I knew I would really, really love it. So this is my Forest Darkness. This is the yoke, and you can sort of see how beautiful those buttons are that I got those at Ginny's in Rochester. So this is a bohus kit from Sweden. This was just dyed by Solveig Gustafsson, as is my blue shimmer, and it, you know, has this like entirely black body. The gauge on this was 9 1/4 stitches to the inch, and I used a size 1 throughout the body. I used a size 2 for the collar work in the collar, and I kind of was, you know, camp was a week early this year, and you know that played into it. And then I got to you know, working down, and I did the cuffs of the sleeves, and then I did the bottom band of the body, and kind of was, I had done one sleeve, and then I was kind of working down the second sleeve, and I kept looking at the bottom band of the cardigan, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it, but I wanted it done for camp. But this is a steeked cardigan, so kind of once you cut that steek, there's no going back and changing what's on the bottom of the sweater. So I knew if I wanted it different, I had to change it before doing that, and then I had to do the bands, and I do those kind of in a vertical intarsia, which takes a long time. It took about 3 days of solid knitting for each side of the bands, because you have to like pick up and fish out the yarn like every 2 rows, and you know the row gauge is like 12 stitches to the inch, so it's a lot of knitting. But the bottom band, and then so the bottom band looks like this. It's not going to show. I tried to take a picture for one of my fellow campers. She wanted a picture of the bottom edge, like what I used for it, and it didn't really come out. So I will try to put that in so that you can at least see it. But I did do, you'll probably be able to see, I did a picot bind off along the cuffs and along the bottom edge. And then, you know, because I had done the bands vertically, you know, the cast off kind of was up here. So like I had the stitches on hold, and then I did the neck band kind of in the round, and did the picot bind off along the top. But I wanted the picot to also be along the side of the band. So I did an applied picot. So, I mean, you know, picot bind off takes a long time. So I kept like adding things on to this sweater, and I don't know, that's not gonna, it's just so very dark. But I did a crochet steek. So I wanted the picot along, I don't know if that's even showing, along the side of the button bands. So I did what I'm calling an applied picot. When I was doing this, I was talking to friends and was saying, you know, I think I'm going to do this, and it's all patterned. It's got like a twisted stitch and faux cable pattern in it, in this dark yarn, and but I was going to do the button bands vertically, and I said, I think I'm going to pick those stitches up and, do this applied picot. I think it should work. So I wasn't really sure if it was going to work or not, but it worked, and it's really pretty. I really, really love that. So what I did is I just picked up the stitches, didn't pick up and knit them, just picked them up like the loops on my needle, and then I did like a picot bind off on those picked up stitches. Um, and so anyway, this, this sweater, I feel like it was like one of the most difficult things. I mean, even though it's a lot of stockinette stitch, it was one of the hardest ones that I have done. And sometimes when something is like that, it kind of like will turn on me, and I'll be like, I don't ever want to see that again. But honestly, I think this is going to be like one of my favorite things I ever made. I think I'm going to wear it a lot. This is not the dress that I made to go with it. I had bought material at Ginny's and sewed a dress to go with it. This is like an older dress that I had that I just put on this morning, but it kind of matches it too. But I think that this one I'm really, really, really going to love. I did sew. Maybe we'll just move right into sewing. I did sew the dress to match this out of the eyelet material. During that time when I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I didn't like the band that I'd put on the bottom, and I, didn't know exactly what I wanted to change it to. And the original band was a little bit of twisted stitch, and then it had a little bit of cable just right in the middle, and it was not fancy enough. I wanted it fancier. I was trying to save time with that easier band, and that just never works for me. So, but during those days when I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do, that's when I sort of really started working on the dress. And the hardest part of doing that dress was cutting it out and getting all the pieces, because it had a much more directional pattern than I originally thought it was going to. It had the scallops for the selvage, and I was going to turn that so the scallops are on the bottom. And that worked out fine, but it had this sort of eyelet and flower kind of pattern in it, but there was a clear, that you had to get everything, going the same direction. So I managed to do that. I got the scallops on the side seams matching, and everything going lined up kind of vertically. And so I did all the cutting out and stuff during those kind of days when I was not working on the sweater. And it came down to, I finished the sweater Monday, the 18th. I put it about 6 o'clock at night, and I put it in water to soak. I was leaving for knitting camp on Wednesday because I was going up to camp a day early this year. So yeah, I ended up, I laid it out, to block it, and it was still wet Wednesday. I, wrapped it up in a towel and put it in a separate kind of little canvas tote bag, so it didn't get my clothes dirty, but, or wet. And when I got there, laid it out in my hotel room, and it dried by Friday when I did my show and tell. So I finished the sweater on Monday night, and then I still had to finish the dress on Tuesday morning. I had to put the zipper in, and then do the hems and all the little finishing work I had needed, hook and eye, and sew the zipper down in the back and all of that kind of stuff. So and the zipper was so stressful in the pink dress. I managed to get this one in kind of in one go. And so then up and coming for the sewing, yesterday I met a friend I hadn't seen in, I think since my birthday in April. And we met for lunch in their town where we usually meet. She comes from the north and I come up from the south. And there's a big Joann's, you know. Now that I've been to Ginny's, like it's not quite the same, but I went in there after lunch just because I wanted to look for fabric that was kind of a transitional sort of colors, like maybe darker color cottons, so that like moving into fall, because most of the fabric that I have is like very, very summery. And I don't know if what I bought you could really apply as transitional. I just saw it and I fell in love and I thought I need to make a dress out of this. So this will be sort of the next dress that I work on. And it is this fabric with these really pretty yellow and white daisies and kind of monarch and butterflies, and it's I just think it's really, really pretty. It'll look it would look really pretty with a little black sweater, or it actually looks, I had my egg sweater laying out because that's what I was sort of using for a guideline for like sizing and length and stuff for the Forest Darkness. And so it was still kind of laying out, and I put this material next to it and it looks really pretty. So anyway, so that will be up and coming for sewing. And up and coming for spinning, I did start a new spinning project when I got home. I kind of wanted to spin something a little bit different, and so I searched into my stash, and I came up with this. It is Chasing Rainbows Dye Works Bombix top. So it's Bombix silk, and it's these really like dark and rich. There, it's very blue and kind of dark. There's some indigo. It's super soft. It's Bombix silk. I generally spin Tussa, which is a little bit easier. It's got a little more. It spins a little more like merino. This is a little slipperier, and it's very, very fine. It's spinning a very fine single fiber in my nose. But I got this so many years ago. Chasing Rainbows. I think it was like when they first started. A friend of mine was going out to Madrona for like the first time, and I asked her to get me something that like I couldn't buy like here, something that was very like Pacific Northwest. And so she got me that, picked that out. And so it's been in my stash for maybe 8-9 years. So quite a while. So it's about time that I spin it. And, it's just something a little bit different than just like wool. Then for show and tell, I have a little bit that I bought at camp that I have to show you. I thought I was going to buy a lot more yarn than I actually did, because I hadn't really bought any yarn kind of this whole year. I bought the blue that I'm using for my shawl, and I bought one lonely skein of Shetland Spindrift in this, it's bottle green. And this is one of the colors I used in my Rona, and I want to do kind of matching gloves, and I had the tiniest little ball left when I finished the sweater. So I knew to do the gloves I'd need another skein, and I never just wanted to like place an order for like one skein of Shetland, and I didn't know, I was always on the fence, like what color is that blue and stuff. So I picked up that one skein that I needed. And then I also got a wheel of unspun Icelandic, which I can't go to camp and not get unspun because I love this stuff. And this is like as bright pink as it's showing up. It's like shocking, like bright pink. I have a lot of grays and black, a ton of that black left. And I just think this will be like a fun little spark of color. Like if I want to do a color work, something with grays, this would be like a really like little bright spot of color. So I bought those two, and this one, the blue yarn, that's all, that's all that I got. But I did get a number of books, more books than I was expecting to get. Um, the first one I'll show you is, I was sort of thinking that I will end up getting this book, and this is the new Bohus book, the Bohus Revival. This came out just before Christmas, and everything that I have heard from people, that have this book or, bought it, um, said it's just, this excellent, excellent book. And I'm just not like collecting, things, like feeling like I need to collect all the books and things like I used to. And I thought, well, I'll just wait until I see it at camp. And so the first night when you come, you can, go and get things and bring them to your, and look through them and stuff. And I looked through this and I thought, yeah, I have knit, Blue Shimmer will be my 8th Bohus. I think I need this book. It has actual patterns in the back. I've always gotten the kits from Sweden that I use the like authentic yarn, kind of sanctioned yarn for the reproduction. But there are patterns in the back that I don't know what they do call for the Angora garnet yarn. The woman on the cover, she's the new dyer of the yarn. Since Solveig retired, she raises the bunnies, and so anyway, I got this book, and then I bought a book that I saw last year, and I was on the fence about, and I still picked it up and thought, oh, I still really like this book. And I was still sort of on the fence about it. And my, friends that I was sitting around were like, you need to buy that for like 2 years. You've been looking at it saying you really like it. But it's, I thought, I don't know, like it's got mostly patterns in it. And those kind of books I don't usually buy. I usually buy ones that have more, history and things. But it is called Hand Knits from Norway by Karen Marie Vinja? I don't know. But anyway, that's what it looks like. But it has, so it goes through and it has a lot of the very traditional styles from different regions of Norway. Because each kind of region of Norway have, different styles. But then it also has a bunch of these really cute, like sweater, like kind of tunic-y things. I love that one. And I was telling my friend about this book yesterday because she's kind of a baby. I'm a baby sewer. She's kind of a baby knitter. She doesn't knit, but I could just like picture her like, I just think that it's like so cute. And then this year I thought, oh, this brown one is chunky weight yarn, so that would knit up really fast. And then I thought this one was so cute. This is out of Rommel Garn, which is figurine weight. That would take a while. And then it has the cutest little felted slippers. So anyway, I was sort of like, you need to get that book. So I got it. I don't know. Maybe I will sell it in my, next winter when I go through books to sell things. I don't know. So then I got, I also bought the Turkish coat pattern because I really want to knit this for my winter coat this year. But the book that I could not deny, it was new this year that I have seen. I think it came in a little bit ago, but I just, I thought I don't really need this book. It's a mitten book. I have other mitten books. I have other Latvian mitten books, but it just like spoke to me. So it is Mittens of Latvia by Maruta Grasmane. That's her name. And I just fell in love with it. So it's this kind of like long, skinny book, which it makes me feel like when I was little, we had a book with like fairy tales and like stories and things that was like a long, skinny book like that. But it's quite thick, if you can see. And I have the Latvian Mitten book by Elizabeth Eupitis, which is a lovely, lovely book. It has a ton of charts and mitten, things, and talks about the history and all of that stuff that this one has also. But this one kind of divides all the different mittens up by region and then further by individual areas in the region, and it talks about the kind of motifs that they use in them and the colors that they use and so a little bit like of histories of them. And then it's really nice, they have like one side of the page is like an actual like photograph of a knitted mitten, and then opposite is the chart for that mitten. So they are done to kind of accurate gauge that Latvian mittens are, lots of times, 10, 11, 12 stitches to the inch. So you might need to use fingering weight yarn and like 000 needles, depending on sort of the stitch count that's used. It also has this, like, I love books that have like a ribbon kind of like bookmark in them. But then I fell for like some of these from the Kurzim. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They had one with roses. Oh, I need rose mittens, definitely. But some of them, like, look at these. Look how pretty that is. So I need it. There's like some of the cuffs have like these really pretty patterns that I want to do. I can like picture kind of and the yokes of sweaters. And so anyway, and then in the back it talks all about, constructing mittens and how to figure out your gauge, because it just gives you sort of the amount of stitches for the chart, and then you have to double for each side of the mitten. And then, you have to just like figure if it's, 45 or 50, stitches across one, so 100 stitches all the way around. And you can figure out how the circumference of your hand or whoever you're making it for, so say if you want it 8 inches around, and then figure out what gauge you need and what needles you need for that gauge. So yeah, that is, I can't wait to dive in and knit. Those first ones up are going to be those rose mittens. I need those. Camp, it was wonderful as always. I did my show and tell on Friday. Luckily, that was the day that I was assigned. That's always I always get really, really anxious before that. And I, had finished my dress and I had that on. I was fourth from the end of the list of names on Friday, and there are more names on Friday than the other 2 days because Saturday there's we have like market. People come in, or like if campers sell something, like there was a lady there who had project bags. Amy Dachin brings Knit Circus, has some Knit Circus yarns, and Carol Anderson had her patterns and that kind of thing. So I didn't buy anything in the market, but so that takes up time. And then Sunday we do a raffle and we have the contest, so that takes up time. So Friday, I was wearing my dress, I was all prepared, and I was like so nervous about doing it. And I was nervous that they were going to run out of time because some of the early people took a long time. I don't know what they were talking about because I was like nervous. I couldn't listen. I couldn't knit. I couldn't do anything. And but I was worried that we were going to run out of time, and I was wearing the dress, and I had finished the dress and I had finished the sweater. I had to wear them together. So, but I ended up, there was time, and I, got through that. And so I, got that finished. So I was happy to have that done. And then, Friday night, I got kind of a tap on the shoulder, and one of the other campers who I'm like friends with on Facebook and stuff. So that's how mostly I see, like, kind of catch up with them throughout the year, is on Facebook. But he had done a number of lace shawls. I think he did 9 lace shawls during the year, and he was asking people. He had asked me if I would model one of his shawls, so that he could just have like people like modeling his shawls, and then he could talk about it. And he asked if I would model one of the shawls, and his show and tell was on Sunday. And it was like, I was so honored, because that is like my heart. The hardest thing for me is to get up in front of all those people. So I thought, well, I must have done an okay job with like my stuff, because he would want his stuff presented well. So, but it was just the best. It was the highlight of the whole weekend, was getting to do that. So Saturday, he, like we all kind of went up to his room so he could show us the shawls, and like he had picked out whichever one he wanted everybody to wear, so that we could sort of wear something that would coordinate with it. So I had saved back, my pink dress, my first dress. I was planning on wearing that on Saturday, because we did the pelerine thing, and I did that kind of green pelerine. And I was going to wear the pink dress, and I, was like, pink is my neutral. Pink goes with everything. Maybe that will go with that shawl. And I should hold that back, and maybe that will be what I should wear with the shawl. And it turns out it looked perfect with the shawl. So the shawl that he, that I modeled, it's a design that I have knit a couple of times. It's the Herna Hergeber. If you've been watching the podcast all along, you've seen me make it twice, I think, or maybe 3 times. But it's the one that I knit twice that one summer. It actually went with this dress. It was kind of went from the turquoise to the green, or the green to the turquoise. And I made it at the beginning of the summer, and then I lost it, and I reknit it again in the same colorway of the yarn, because, it matched this dress, and, it just made me so sad to lose it. So it was that. But the one he made was out of this most beautiful yarn. It was 100% silk, dyed by a Verb for Keeping Warm. It was this beautiful, I don't know the colorway name, but it was it was like spun gold. It was so, 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 so beautiful. And honestly, it's much, much, much easier, like doing show and tell, like when somebody else is talking and it's not like your project. It's so much easier to do. It was really, that day was like totally fun. So hopefully I'm throwing pictures in of all the different shawls and stuff. So we have this raffle. The money raised goes to the scholarship fund for knitting camp, that people who would benefit or would love to come, or whatever, for whatever reason, couldn't come without help, financially. So, but he often donates like a shawl that he's made for the scholarship, or for the raffle. And the shawl that he donated this year was the one I was wearing, was the gold Herna. I wanted to win that shawl so much. I wanted to be able to show all of you this like beautiful, beautiful shawl that he had knit, and just as sort of a tangible, thing that of just being able, being chosen to show that. I wanted that shawl so much. Um, and, I bought as many tickets as like I could afford. I bought more, way more than I usually, you know, kind of allocate for the raffle, and put them all in there except for one. I put one of my friends made some wine, and I put one in one of her wine things. Um, but I didn't win. But and that's okay, because really I will never forget, that event of being able to do that, and being chosen to show that. Um, I will have the memory of that forever. I don't necessarily need the shawl, but the best part about it was that, kind of like people that were sitting around me like knew how much I wanted it, and kind of would lean across the table and say, I put some of my tickets in there, but if they pull it, I'm going to give it to you. Like, so many people said that to me, and it was just so sweet. One lady said, I was praying that you would win. Like, how blessed am I to have like people like that in my life? The kindness and generosity of them. It just, that was another thing. That I thought, this is just was the best. So when I left, he lives out there, and he goes to a verb for, like often. So I immediately was like on my iPad, like, okay, if I can, well, I can knit that shawl. I've knit it like 3 times already, or 3 or 4 times already. So I looked to see if I could find that yarn, and they didn't. They had like completely like different colors. So I have commissioned him to find me a skein of that yarn if he ever goes there and they have a skein of it, to get it for me, and I, will give him a finder's fee. I'll pay him for it and give him a finder's fee, and so hopefully at some point I will get a skein of that. I can knit a herna, or I can knit something else too, but I've never actually. I've seen pictures of it kind of in magazines or whatever. But I've never seen their yarn actually like that up close, and it's really, really beautiful. So that was kind of the highlight of all of camp. It was like a wonderful, wonderful seeing everybody, and seeing all the knitting. Really, their knitting inspires me so much. I drive. It's a 2-hour drive home, and I'm just like thinking of all the things. So immediately when I got home, I just wrote this list down. It was like 20 things on. I want to knit this, and I want to knit this. So camp was wonderful. It is always the highlight of my year. So until I see you again, hopefully, from my heart to yours, happy knitting.